You unlock this benefit with the key of Patreon. Beyond is another dimension. A dimension of thought. A dimension of speculation. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both waffle and substance. Of things and ideas. You've just crossed into the podcast zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trekking Through the Twilight Zone. It's Julian and I, episode by episode, going through the Twilight Zone, and we're up to the episode not Final Destination 22.
Yeah, it is very much that.
Yeah, episode. Yeah, it's called 22. Julian, what were your thoughts on 22?
I want to like this episode better than I do.
Yes,
I like. It's a smart premise. I mean, the acting is fine. It's a little stiff compared to other Twilight Zone episodes, but it's a good idea for an episode. We've talked about how some episodes deserve to be shorter and some deserve to be longer, but they've all got to fit into this 22-minute sort of block. This is one that should be shorter. It's really got one twist. You see sort of the same dream play out twice with slight variations. And the entire time, Liz Powell, a professional dancer, is in the hospital having this morbid dream. She gets released, and really all the action is that last sort of 3 minutes or so. So, I mean, this could easily have been 12 minutes and be a very punchy, better 12 minutes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that. It felt like you could do this as like an EC Comics kind of short. Like you have that kind of punchiness. As you say, the acting's fine, the payoff is fine. The problem is I have with this episode, like you say, there are two episodes. The doctor that's looking after her is, abysmal. Like I wouldn't want him to be looking after me. Like he's not good. But it's this thing around the dream and what it leads to. So there's the sort of like the falling of the glass. She hears the squeaking of the sort of the footsteps. She follows it down to there's a nurse getting to an elevator. She follows the nurse. It goes down to room 22, which is the morgue, and then the nurse comes out and says, like, room for one more, honey. All that, I'm like going, this is really creepy. When it plays out, and we're going to spoil it because obviously the twist. When it plays out, what this is for, or what this sort of like, this is a premonition for a plane accident. Like she's going to get on a plane and she starts to piece it together. Someone bumps into her. There's a glass that falls.
Yeah, it's like a vase or something that the other person's carrying. Yeah,
I think it's like gate 22, and there's all these little bits and pieces that come together.
Flight 22. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, Flight 22. Yeah. It still doesn't work because I'm like, all right, I know you're in a hospital, but like, it's this thing of like. It's all fudged together. Why are you in hospital? She's exhausted. Why is she exhausted? Well, she's been working too long. All right. So where has this dream come from? I don't want sort of like, I don't want death to be the answer. Like, she said she's always had premonitions or whatever. All right. So what is the chain of events that has led to her having this dream? Because at one point it feels like her lack of sleep is because of this dream. And so her sort of like her not origin story, but like her reasoning for being in hospital and stuff feels so muddy and unclear that then I'm like, I don't know what this dream is related to. Like, do you know what I mean?
I do completely. I mean, the best way to say this is that or to interpret that is that it's just an ambiguous Twilight Zone episode, right? But you're right, of course. And there are, I mean, I'll say good things about this episode, but I do want to say that it's based on a short story and also sort of a ghost story anecdote, right? So it has that quality. So the original idea is like somebody is being haunted by somebody and they have these premonitions. And so that suggests that I guess they're being given these premonitions by this ghost or whatever. And it has that kind of like ghost story quality. Like she could tell this story afterwards and people would be like, do I really believe this? She really seems to believe this. And so I think it's intended to be just kind of like an odd happening. People sometimes have weird premonitions. How do we understand them? And it plays out.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. That's sort of, it feels like it's it's just that thing of like, and I'm not looking for like a definitive source, like, you know, and obviously I mentioned Final Destination, like you don't get a definitive source in that. They have this idea of death playing a game or whatever. But in this, it just feels so muddy. And then, like you say, the ending is so rushed when they put it together that it never quite gels in that way. I love the dream sequence, though. I will say, I love the dream sequence when they have that thing of like the glass dropping, and then and you say about them having it twice. Like I like the fact that she tries to do something different in the second one. Like the doctor says to us, "Oh, just break the cycle, do something different. Don't pick up the glass." So she picks up a glass, drops the glass, it shatters. Then she goes, she's like, "Oh, don't pick up the glass." You know that then it won't break. But it something else breaks, and it's sort of like it's constantly this shattering that sort of like these sequence of events. So I kind of like that. That bit's really good. That's well set out.
Well, it's like the deterministic universe that we talk about with time travel, right? Like
exactly.
You're not in control of this dream.
No,
something else is doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like, you know, the nurse that sort of comes out of the morgue, the room 22, and says, you know, room for one more, honey, because that's obviously what the stewardess says as well when she goes to get on the plane. But like, you know, and it's a morgue as well. But the thing that's weird is like when you actually talk to the nurse, you see the doctor and the nurse and the actual hospital. They say later on, like, how does she know that the morgue is down there?
Yeah, and that it has 22 above the door.
Yeah,
right. Like she has not identified. They've proven that the person, the woman who mans the morgue, so to speak,
isn't the one
that she's. So they use that to kind of say, honey, it's just a dream, you know, to kind of gaslight her.
Yeah.
You know, but the truth is there are other details that are correct.
But why does but then the morgue and the number, like obviously they relate to potential death and the flight, but like it feels weird then that there actually is a morgue with 22 above it. And I'm like, yeah.
No, I know exactly what you mean. But the other thing is like, you know, you might like this would be a very different story. The 22 thing is the key problem there. It would be a very different story if like the woman who comes out of the morgue is in fact the ghost who's imparting this, you know, warning through dreams.
Yes.
I will say though that, I mean, so there's no source for this dream, this precognitive sort of thing, but I do love when you actually go through it for real. And it's not a glass, it's a vase, and you sort of see one thing after another. And it's not a one-to-one correlation, but clearly the correlation is there. And you find yourself thinking anyone else would think this person is crazy, right? Yes. I mean, if you said, I had a dream like this, but it wasn't a dream. And I found myself thinking, like, whatever it is that's given her this dream has almost trained her how to respond to it, right? Such that she will flee because she's fled the woman coming out of the morgue desperately. And in fact, it goes on a little too long. Like, you know, you see, like, you're waiting for the elevator, and like going up the elevator, and you're like, I like that dramatic end to the dream.
Yeah, you need. Yeah, I agree with that. That's the one thing I say. The dream goes on too long. Like she runs back up and she's pressing the button for the elevator. Like it should stop at some point. Like it feels like you're going like, okay, wake up now. Like there should be that trigger moment as you always see in films of something that shocks them out of the sleep. You say about the things that there's not a direct correlation. There was one thing that really stood out to me, and it's fine because you're right. They do things they sort of match. There's no squeaking of shoes, which actually feels more important because she's got to follow someone. She has to follow the nurse. So I'm expecting, like you said about the ghost previously. I was like, oh, maybe it's a ghost of a nurse that is in the hospital that's given these drips. Something. There's going to be something with a nurse in the fun thing. No, that's fine. What really weirded me out, and this is an odd thing, when they drop the vase in the airport, no one, and I mean no one, attempts to clean it up. The guy who dropped it just sort of goes, ugh, and walks off.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and then two of the people just walk across it. And I was like, surely someone would be rushing out this and go, oh, there's water, there's a wet floor, there's glass. Like someone, if it was me that had been made to drop it, I'd be pissed. So
yeah,
it felt a bit odd.
The guy who drops it doesn't even say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "I didn't see you there." There's no sort of like,
it's her fault.
"Oh shit."
She bumps into him, so he should be the one that's going like, "What are you doing, love?" It's her fault. Much like with the glass being knocked off, it's her fault that this thing dropped. He just goes ugh and walks off. And so I get the fact that they're laying out this sequence of events,
right?
But it doesn't. It feels like a sequence of events because of that. Because it's like
it's a little perfunctory, and you feel it's like this thing in movies all the time where it's like the point is it's function for the plot, so it's not treated in the full manner that you would expect.
Exactly, and so there is that, and it makes me giggle when I see it because I did sort of as I was watching it, I was like, as you say, like I know exactly what this is. Like I know how this works, and I thought that was kind of funny. But it's one of these episodes we've said before. Like there's episodes, you say about it being too long or too short, but there's also episodes we've said that sort of like they're just like 1 or 2 degrees off being really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this one felt like. Like it's just 1 or 2 degrees off being really good. And I'm not going to give an alternative, but like it just feels like there's bits where I'm like, this is so close. But like even the character, I love the fact she's a stripper. She's got cuddly toys on the bed. Like she's not, it's not your standard character. They're going for something different. All that's working for me. Like she's a bit sort of like Harley Quinn-esque in the voice. Like she's supposed to be that sort of like she's not supposed to be it sounds horrible, but the classiest people. Like so they don't give her the she's not getting the full respect that a normal person probably would, or a person of work.
A normal person.
I feel bad.
I know it.
As soon as I said
the average, the average.
Person, all right. The thing is, she's a stripper, and she's obviously, quite glamorous in that way. So people treat her, they look down on her. So I like the fact that plays into it as well. Like no matter what she says, everyone's sort of like, as you say, sort of like,
dismissive.
Really sort of like, really dismissive and patronizing towards her. Even her manager sort of is a bit like, all right, well, I hear what you're saying, but just get well and get out. We've got to get back on the road or whatever. And so I like that. All that's working for me. So it's just 1 or 2 degrees off being a really good episode, and it's quite disappointing in that respect.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it doesn't amount to much, and that's fine.
No.
I mean, but it basically amounts to like, the stories you've heard about like people who at the last minute didn't get on the airliner that crashed.
Yeah.
Right. We've all heard a million stories.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes they were irrational. Usually it's like, well, my brother called me and had an emergency, or I didn't get to the airport on time through a traffic jam. But sometimes it is like, I just had a bad feeling. And it's like, I don't know how to account for that. I mean, I guess I believe that person. But it does kind of come back to just that sort of anecdote. But I know exactly what you mean. It doesn't feel like fully fleshed out. I don't need to know why she's having these premonitions. It could be as simple as she is exhausted, and so something in the mind, that we all could do this if we really tried. I mean, I'd be content with that. But like even those dream sequences they feel creepy, but then they feel oddly not creepy enough at other times. Oddly mundane, and not mundane in a satisfyingly kind of like, oh, I love those Breaking Bad details kind of interesting mundane. It just feels not quite there.
It's the way it's shot, and this is something that I noted as I was watching it. I mean, but we have seen in other episodes where horror will creep into the Twilight Zone. Like you say, it's we've had those moments of horror, and sometimes they are shot incredibly well. And the one thing I would say is the dream sequence is shot exactly the same in many respects as the rest of the episode. Like it's a little darker and it deals in close-ups a little bit more, but like chucking some Dutch tilts or use an interesting shot or have up shots or down shots or something that really sort of like plays up that horror, or some light or something,
or music, like a weird strained violin, along with a shot that just goes on too long or something, I mean, something that sort of just make the nurse that comes through, like make her look exceptionally tall, like she comes through the door at the top. Oh yeah.
Just something that's incredibly weird. Like they haven't tapped into the potential of like the dream needs to be. She needs to be really on edge because of this dream, because it's so freaky and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing where I feel like it's like you say, it's 1 or 2 degrees off. Because she is terrified of this dream, and understandably, like if it's bothering, it's repeating, but it should feel like ominous. It should feel like it's got consequence, and it sort of doesn't. Which is, I think, you say 1 or 2 degrees off being a really good episode.
Yeah, it's sort of like a draft. I mean, you know, in my final thought would be that we were talking about look and feel. This is one of several episodes of the 2nd season that was shot on videotape.
Yes.
And when we've had, you know, 1 or 2 already, we'll have some more. And that, you know, maybe somebody was thinking like, look, this is gonna be kind of grainy and fudgy anyway. I mean, do we really want to have some innovative shots, you know, that are muddy and hard to make out? Maybe,
but it feels that lack of differentiation between life and the dream stands out. But yeah, anyway, any final thoughts then on 22? Any more final thoughts?
No, could have been a great episode, but like you say, it's sort of a little bit away.
Yes, no, I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue our trek through the Twilight Zone, and hopefully there's some more premonitions of great episodes up ahead. We shall see. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening, and we shall join us on the next episode.